Hi, my name is Jim Covell, and good evening, everybody. I'm going to present tonight about concussions and the impact it's having on football, which seems fitting because the NFL draft is tomorrow night. So, in a show of hands, how many of you watch football every Sunday? Good. How many of you enjoy watching football for the hard hits and the collisions? All right.
Constantine
How
says
many of
yes.
you, while watching football, have seen a concussion occur? Well, according to the CDC, a concussion is a traumatic brain injury. It occurs when the brain moves rapidly back and forth. And the brain. Okay, this is Mike Webster. He was a former linebacker, a Hall of Fame linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was on the Pittsburgh Steelers team that won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. And the thing about Mike Webster, though, was unfortunately he suffered a lot of concussions throughout his career. He ended up dying in 2002 due to a heart attack. During his autopsy, the coroner found CTE in his brain. He was the first athlete to be diagnosed with CTE, the first football athlete. So I'm now going to show you a quick YouTube video about that occurs from Frontline. It was a documentary on the NFL's concussion crisis. In this clip, it's about Mike Webster giving an interview about his life.
For Iron Mike, TV interviews became impossible.
No, I'm talking about. No, I'm trying to find. Yeah, well, Trump. Everybody went to Trump as a kid. I'm not saying I was different than that. I'm just saying. The things we do to one another. Okay. Hell, I don't know what to say. I'm just tired and confused right now. That's why I say I can't really. I can't say it the way I want to say it. I could say I could answer this real easy at other times, but right now I'm just tired.
So, with Mike Webster in that clip that I showed you, he was exhibiting the symptoms of CTE, which were confusion. He said he was tired. He didn't know what he was thinking. He couldn't gather his thoughts. I'm going to go in depth more on CTE in a few minutes. Now I'm going to get into some statistics about concussions in football. With the concussions in terms of sports, it occurs mostly in football. 75% of the time it occurs in a game of football. With high school athletes, they're 2 times more likely to suffer a concussion than college football athletes. And then for every 10,000 high school football games and practices, a concussion happens. There are 11.2 concussions. Now, with the long-term effects of concussions, you have dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and post-concussion syndrome. With post-concussion syndrome, it's lingering effects of concussions. And then with Alzheimer's disease and dementia, if you suffer multiple concussions, you're increasing your risk of early onset dementia and Alzheimer's disease. for those football players that suffered at least 3 concussions in their lifetime, the chances of early onset Alzheimer's disease increases 5-fold for them. So it's a pretty staggering number. Now, with Alzheimer's and dementia, Dr. Maurice Lassonde, she did a study about older athletes who last suffered a concussion 30 years ago. And in the results, she discovered that those who had a concussion end up having a thinning of the cortex in the regions of the brains where Alzheimer's disease usually affects it. And here we're going to go with CTE. CTE is progressive degeneration of brain tissue. It occurs when for those who suffer multiple concussions or multiple brain traumas. On the left side here is the normal brain, where that's healthy, and this is the brain with CTE. You can see the degeneration of tissue in these black dots here. And this is having a lasting impact on the future of football, as in a study that I looked at from NBC and the Wall Street Journal did earlier this year, 40% of parents don't want their kids participating in football. And it's also contributed to decrease in Pop Warner football enrollment, as it's fallen 10% in the past 3 years. So how can we combat concussions? Well, first thing we could do is educate, because in a book that I read called 4th Down in Inches, parents, coaches, and athletes, their parents, coaches, and athletes who didn't know what a concussion was, what the signs and symptoms are. So we can educate them and know what the proper signs and symptoms are, and what a concussion is, and how we can take the proper precautions necessary. We can also reinforce the technique with tackling and blocking. And we could also prepare with heads-up football, where you can keep the helmet up and not lower the helmet when you're trying to tackle. And last suggestion would be the proper equipment. I have the Riddell Revolution listed here, which I'll get into. Best thing that a coach could have with their players or parents, or when in doubt, sit them out if they're not sure if they suffered a concussion or not. And here is the Riddell Revolution helmet, which is specifically designed to help reduce concussions. And in an article that I read from the New York Times, this helmet, the Riddell Revolution, helps reduce concussions by 54%. So it's very safe, and the results have shown it to be that way. So we're going to wrap it up. There's no way to stop concussions. It'll always happen, but we can reduce concussions by taking the proper precautions necessary. We can educate everyone about concussions and the signs and symptoms. We can reinforce the technique, and we can use proper equipment like the Riddell Revolution to help reduce concussions. And by doing this, we can not only reduce concussions, we can also reduce the long-term health effects that go along with it, just to provide better futures for our athletes and for our kids. So football cannot be extinct, and so we can have more players join the likes of these athletes. Thank you, everybody, and good night.